Advent is about waiting. You know, I got to tell you something. I'm waiting. You want me to tell you what I'm waiting for? I'm waiting for the end of violence. I'm waiting for the end of war. I'm waiting for the end of conflict in my life. One minute we're up, and the next minute we're down. Just depends on how the wind is blowing. And when is that other shoe going to drop? It's no wonder that people give up, as we hear in the gospel. It's no wonder that people drink or binge on something to take our mind off the anxieties of the world. Anything. It seems like it's hopeless, because it is hopeless. When are things going to change? Can they change? You know what? There is one thing that can change. One thing. You and me. That's what can change. Have you had enough yet? Or you need to do some more research? The problem is not out there. There's a lot of problems out there, you know, as I was saying. But the problems right now in our life is not something out there. It's in here. That's what the problem is. If I can change that, it can change my perspective. Doesn't it matter what's going on out there if in here isn't changing? And what it is that's going on is that it's our free will run amok, going off the rails. And my free will always leads me to a dead end, away from everybody else. God's will always leads to love, to peace, to eternal life. And when I align my will with God's will, there's a certain peace that comes from that. Doesn't mean that there isn't going to be conflict, but there is a peace that no one can take away, because I know what I'm doing, what God is calling me to do.
Oh, the snowflakes fell in silence over Belleau Wood that night, for a Christmas truce had been declared by both sides of the fight. As we lay there in our trenches, the silence broke in two by a German soldier singing a song that we all knew. Though I did not know the language, the song was Silent Night. Then I heard my buddy whisper, all is calm and all is bright. And the fear and doubt surrounded me, 'cause I'd die if I was wrong. But I stood up in my trench and I began to sing along. And across the frozen battlefield, another voice joined in. till one by one each man became a singer of the hymn. Then I thought that I was dreaming, for right there in my sight stood the German soldier 'neath the fallen flakes of white. Then he raised his hand and smiled at me,
My name is
as
Jim.
if he
And
seemed to
it's
say
Please take
he
it
was
off.
hoping we both live to see us find
Rose, she's called. Schön, schön.
Then the devil's clock struck midnight and the skies lit up again, and the battlefield where heaven stood was blown to hell again. But for just one fleeting moment, the answer seemed so clear. Heaven's not beyond the clouds, it's just beyond the fear. No, heaven's not beyond the clouds, it's for us to find here.
But in order to do that, I have to be willing to give up. Not give up and carouse and get drunk. Not give up in that sense, but give myself up to God, to surrender. That's what the challenge is. If I really want to do God's will in my life. God's will, I know my will, and our will has a tendency to run us into dark places, dark patterns in our life. The patterns that we have gotten into in our life that are dark is because of our own will. And to change that, I have to be willing to surrender to God and surrender to God's agents who have been there, who know what it's like to break free of those things. Surrender to God in my prayer. Is my prayer leading me to community, or am I trying? Is it leading me to getting help, or am I praying that away, trying to avoid that connection with God? That's not what prayer is for. It should be leading us to connecting to God. We might be surprised who those people are that God's agents are in our life. Maybe a counselor, it may be a 12-stepper, whoever those may be. Because what we're talking about when we do these things, when we are willing to make the change ourselves, then a new advent can begin. And turning ourselves over to God's will, that's when we wait. That's what the Advent waiting is about. And we're waiting to see what God will do. Change is not easy, and nobody likes change. prefer to stay the same. It can be painful. But let me tell you that it's a certain type of pain. It's the pain that goes along with birth. Because once you give birth, once you give your will to God, something new and wonderful happens in our life. A new way that we were never aware of. A new joy. When I'm willing to change, there's one less problem in the world and one more solution. That's how the world changes. One person at a time, starting with me.